What's up, y'all? Humbling. This is something that we will be doing here. This is episode 170 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. Today's the 17th of October, 2025. We're going to get into this, do it as we do. I'll talk about each of the four sides of In the Image Clothing Company. I'll talk about where clothing sits, and then we'll really get into this discussion. This is In the Image Clothing Company podcast, where we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. We get into it in depth, blunt, bold, raw, real, which is what we call, In the Image Clothing Company style. But this specific episode, as some are, of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, is actually about a specific topic that's not necessarily really a gospel of Jesus Christ type discussion. This title of episode 170 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, and I'm anticipating this to be quite long, even longer than a lot of our episodes already are. I know they're quite lengthy, but this one, it's titled An Introduction. We'll shorten the word, an intro, but yes, an introduction to Poodle Parade events. And we'll get into it. One of our fourths is In the Image Clothing Company Poodles. And our events that we have, we call them Poodle Parade events. It's nothing to do with a parade by any means, but more of a family reunion, a hangout, having a good time here in the state of Utah, the United States of America, in nature. Okay, getting people into nature, dogs into nature, and I'll really get into talking about it, but I want to give a preface of what will be to come after the intro, as far as the discussion and what this episode is for. Okay, the reason for making this. Yeah. Okay. So there you go. There's a little bit of an explanation. And yes, the only dogs allowed at Poodle Parade events, well, it's in the name Poodle Parade. Purebred poodles of any size and or poodle mixes of any size. We specialize in purebred standard poodles, as In the Image Clothing Company. Under our fourth, that is In the Image Clothing Company music, to poodles. Golly, there's four sides. We'll do the intro, but that's the whole thing about me saying music there. Normally I play a little bit of something on the guitar here, a little red the guitar, is what I have right now. Johnson JG, golly, it's gonna be big, and that's why I'm already stuttering into it. I don't stutter very much ever. Just the reason I mention that is because it's a testament to when I do stutter, it's because things, they really hit me. The things that really convict me and really are deep. And I know that they are. That's when it's kind of hard for me to get words out at times because of how real it really is. The things that I'm talking about, in those moments especially. So yeah, we'll get into it, but I'll just kind of freestyle a little bit of something here on Little Red the guitar. But yeah, he is a Johnson JG 610R, 3/4 size with nylon strings, which aren't the strings that are designed to be on this guitar, but I'm Evan Strong and I do crazy things with nylon strings. So I'll just freestyle a little bit of something and then we'll really get into this. Now, I'll do the intro, and just know our intros can sometimes be long. I feel like I'll probably try to keep this intro relatively short so we can really get into this discussion because this will be big. Again, a little bit more context even before I get to our intro. We will have a lot of Poodle Parade events, and we'll do a lot of things that maybe won't be specifically called Poodle Parade events. But like that episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast is titled Involve Yourself. One of our episodes, that's the title to it. And a lot of what I said was, in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which I am a member of. just in the gospel and being with people and our fellow men, if you will. But under In the Image Clothing Company, the actual events we have, any event we have on any four sides in any way that we do, but poodle parade events, bring your poodles, mixes or purebred, any size. Um, but then, yeah, so much through the gift of video. I want to make it clear we'll have a lot of things we can do in person, whether you're already in the state of Utah or if you want to come for any In the Image Clothing Company poodle specific for this episode here event, right? So we'll do a lot with a lot of what we do. So that's what I'll do actually when I talk about each of the four sides of In the Image Clothing Company right here. I'll talk about In the Image Clothing Company poodles first, just to because we're already kind of discussing this, because what we do is we let dogs stay natural. And I'll say on the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, I mean, I'll talk about that fourth by itself here in a minute, but we allow the human body to work. We do it through clothing and discuss the anatomy of the human body in depth, but we do the same thing for dogs with allowing the body to work, but we phrase it as letting dogs stay natural. A lot of things, man. Collars, leashes, harnesses, just like us human beings with our collars, all the musculature and tendons going through the neck of our bodies. Collars for dogs, they need to stay centered. They need to be minimal and light so the dog can have its natural motion and it's not altering their spine from their neck, traveling to the tip of their tail and throughout their whole body with just weight and discrepancies in weight on the collar of the neck of the dog. Shoot, I am stuttering through I you'll see what I mean, why I'm speaking so much on In the Image Clothing Company poodles up until today's date, and just as I do before we ever have any poodles of our own under In the Image Clothing Company. So you'll see it. It's I think that the way that I approach this, my stuttering through it, the way, I mean, I have episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast where I've been, just crying so hard in tears over poodles and everything to come under that fourth of our company, In the Image Clothing Company poodles. And so my heart is in this, and I almost want to say what we are as a whole, choking up literally emotion wise under In the Image Clothing Company. I almost want to say it's mostly going to always be geared around poodles out of all the fours that we have. And we discuss the gospel of Jesus Christ and everything we do. We allow the human body to work. Our information applies to every human on the face of the earth. But our information for dogs and letting dogs stay natural applies to all dogs, besides things that would be very poodle specific, like specific haircuts for poodles, or temperament things, or breed specific things. I mean, and that's very, very specific, just to poodles. But other than that, we give information that applies to all dogs on the earth and owners of dogs, and then us interacting with our dogs as owners. Things like holding leashes naturally to not alter our bodies. We discuss the height of dogs versus the height of the owner of the dog to, again, not alter our bodies and make it more enjoyable for us to be with our dogs. A lot of times that's what's discouraging for people when it comes to having a dog, is they can't even get down to the ground to the dog's height. So us specializing this is real. This is 170, the episode number of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. I don't stutter like this. And that's why I say how many episodes we have, is because you can see that that's the case. When it's as real as it is, it really hits me when I'm talking about God, when I'm talking about things to come, when I'm getting very personal with, explaining things about my own life. Often I'll have kind of a hard time getting through it because of how deeply it hits me emotion-wise in a very good way. So there's some context for however I end up throughout this, emotionally, or the way that I'm speaking. Just know my heart is in this. I love animals. I love nature. I love God. I love people, man, even though people drive me crazy, and I love specifically poodles. We specialize in the standard size because, well, for me personally, I'm 6'2" tall. Evan Strong, as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, I'm pretty tall, well above average just for humans across the earth. And so standard sized poodles are a dog that I can very easily interact with, and I don't have to bend down at all to pet the dog on the head or the neck, just down at my side where my hands would naturally hang, right? And allowing the body to work is what we do in everything we do in our lives, um, under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. And I'll talk about it a little bit here through the intro, but we talk about feeding for dogs, hydration for dogs, and keeping things like leashes, harnesses, and I mentioned collars quiet and light and minimal to not alter the dogs. It can literally take years off the lifespan of dogs. Just having a collar on them all the time, pulling on their neck, changing, the mechanics, as we say, right? Body mechanics. Human bodies and dogs as well are just a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space, as I say. There's only one way that our physical bodies, being the only thing that we actually have in this life, could ever actually work. The only thing that we have is an episode title of In The Image Clothing Company podcast, and it is our human bodies. And then everything else we can get can also leave, except for our bodies, because once our bodies leave, we do as well from this earth. So it's big, what we do. And with these dogs, there's a lot that comes with it. We'll always have good products, dog products under InTheImageClothingCompany.com to not alter the dogs. But we talk about like slippery flat flooring, indoor flooring that's really altering the joints of the dogs. And I mean, that in itself, no exaggeration, it can take years off the lifespan of dogs, just if they're always slipping around on, polished flooring, when there's just so much grip and texture to nature. So this is really what it means to let dogs stay natural, is these type of things, feeding dogs at a proper height so they don't get excess air into their digestive system, rehydrating kibble, because it's very unnatural for any living animal on the earth, human beings as well, to eat something as dry as dehydrated kibble is. It's like us just eating crackers all the time, and it just backs up our digestive system. Right. So we really get in depth with the health of dogs. We advocate for so many things with dogs, being a good owner of dogs and how to. Again, these things apply to all dogs, not only poodles by any means. These things that are universal, they are universal for all dogs on the earth and all owners of dogs on the earth as well. Keeping less dogs in shelters and more dogs at homes. And that's a big thing that we can do, is work with animal shelters, rehoming dogs where we do, giving just, advocation, being an advocate and advocacy for, microchipping dogs, and just making sure we can keep as many dogs staying at their homes forever as we can, and out of the shelters, And then proper breeding, because we will always be doing what we do with breeding, In The Image Clothing Company Poodle's purebred standard breeding program. There's an episode of In The Image Clothing Company podcast about that, titled something just like that. And, we'll always have a very strict screening process on who our puppies go to keep them in their homes for life and be treated well. So we just advocate for a lot of good things. And I say some things that are very bold, but it needs to be heard with context, and you need to hear where I'm coming from. And I say it specifically. I mean, I almost, like, if you will, go out of my way to say this when I say a mutt is a mutt. Because, again, with context, a mutt is a mixed dog breed. But the reason I say it is I don't have that big of a problem with mixed dogs. I mean, I like golden doodles and labradoodles, and even the smaller dogs, Maltipoos and Maltese are actually really sweet dogs. I mean, there's a lot of mixed dogs that I mean, I like them, and they're good where they are. But the reason is because we advocate for planned and proper litters, and breeding dogs properly. It's for the health of the dogs. There's so much complication that can come when you mix dog breeds, even just in the phrasing, pure bred dogs. I mean, they're pure, and that's how we further good bloodlines of dogs. And so we'll show a lot of this in what we do, and that's a lot of what it means to let dogs stay natural, as well as, health testing dogs before we breed them, and choosing very specific dogs to keep dogs healthy, So these are a lot of the things that we do and always will, and you'll see more of as time progresses. As I said, as of today's date, me filming this right now on the 17th of October, 2025, I, Evan Strong, personally, as the founder, I don't even have a single standard poodle yet. Her name will be Nita, Nita. There's an episode of In The Image Clothing Company podcast titled Nita. Depends on if you pronounce your T's or not, right? Nita or Nita. Here in Utah, often we have a Utah accent, you know, and people don't normally say T's very crisp. You know, we say mountains instead of mountains, and it would be Nita instead of Nita. But she'll be the start of all this, and then we'll have many dogs, a lot for life, right? Like I'm saying, I am in this for life. Under all that we do, under In the Image Clothing Company. So if you can tell, I'm uncomfortable in a good way. There's a lot to this. It's the magnitude of it is hitting me even more, even though I've known what it is since I have known. It's kind of hard for me to accept where this is all going, but I understand, and I thank God. So I'm really emotional about this. And again, just time will tell. You know, don't believe me, like I say, about anything I ever say. Truly, but you'll see what happens with this. Oh shoot, I might cry a lot in this as well. I don't know. I might. My heart is in this big time. All right, so we do a lot for dogs, and so we'll talk about it because Poodle Parade events. That's the point. Is just getting people together. We can do a lot with it. You know, getting people into nature in ways they just wouldn't otherwise be able to if they didn't have dogs. You know, and just help a lot of people in a lot of ways. And so we'll talk a lot about that throughout this episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. But I'll get through the intro first. The main side of In the Image Clothing Company, we do a lot of the same things that I was just saying for dogs. Our bodies have a center line, the sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw. The jaw naturally stabilizes not just the head, but the entire body. This goes for dogs as well when it comes to feeding dogs, and collars hanging on the dog while the dog eats. You know, we talk about eating what you could call ambidextrously. On the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, eating and drinking with the left hand is a video we have, just meaning the non-dominant hand, keeping our jaw in the center of our body as we use the muscles that come from our lower jawbone up between our eyes and ears up to the crown of our head. And our jaw, yes, stabilizing our entire body. Earth has a center of gravity, and our body's center line has to mesh with that. And then we place clothing on our bodies, and clothing has to stay centered, fit correct, where I'll talk about here in a minute when I talk about where clothing sits, and be made from 100% natural materials, because the human body is only natural. Natural, neutral, and normal are synonyms within, well, I normally say the human body, but yes, I mean just bodies of flesh and bone on the earth, dogs as well. Again, all dogs, not just poodle specific. So we talk about allowing these things to just be unaltered. And the big thing is to allow the body to work, or to let dogs stay natural. That has to come from outside of us. These are God's creations. We're designed in the image of Jesus Christ. That's the first three of our 5-word name as a whole, In the Image Clothing Company. So our bodies, they're all the same, and we can have our differences, amputations, deformities, birth defects, surgeries, whatever has altered your body or makes you unique, but there's this universal human design, and there's only one way the human body could ever work, and it's in its baseline actual functioning. So it's about the skeletal system and the positioning. And so we talk about eating, standing, walking, sitting, breathing, sleeping, hydration, all the same things we do for dogs on In the Image Clothing Company poodles, we do for human beings as well on the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. So we give a lot of free modifications in clothing. We talk about just the anatomy of the human body in depth in all the ways that we do, and clothing, and then those two things meshing, or maybe not so much. Ropes introduced to the body, shoelaces and drawstrings, oversized clothing, imbalances in clothing when modern designs are shipped across the earth in ways they never were in the past, and they're made by machines, and there's a lot of imbalances in them when our bodies just have to deal with gravity. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that we do as a human being, is just deal with this universal law of God's that is gravity. And that's the gravity of this, is just how big it is. I get so uncomfortable when I'm given things. And this is huge. So stick around for the poodles, as I've been saying so much lately. And I'll get through this, bro. It's like it's hard for me physically, not only emotionally. It's hard for me to know how big this is. And like I'm saying, time will tell. So InTheImageClothingCompany.com will always have human being clothing as well that just allows the body to work. Puppies will be on InTheImageClothingCompany.com, the application with our strict screening process. For who they will go to will always be on InTheImageClothingCompany.com, our central hub, if you will, for all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company. But yeah, there you go. There's a neutral position to everything in the body. Like the wrist here, straight out from the outside of the forearm, down the pinky finger, there's a neutral. And then there's motion outside of there. There's a neutral to rotations of the body, internal and external rotation from the neutral, in the feet to the knees, in the fingertips to the elbow. Okay, so those lower legs and the forearms have their own rotations. And then from the feet to the hips, and then the hands up to the shoulder, there's rotations as well in the extremities as a whole. And so there's no way to stretch the human body. There's no way to train it. It has to just rely in its neutral positions. I almost feel like I'm like half asleep or drugged because of how hard this is hitting me. You'll see as time progresses. Just the truth of what I'm explaining here and what we will be doing as time progresses as well. So, yeah, stretch within clothing is one of those things that comes with these unnatural materials that just didn't exist even decades back from today's date. Stretch in clothing goes the opposite direction of the only way muscles could ever work. All musculature in the body only contracts, meaning getting shorter to operate. There's just opposing muscles to each function of the body. Okay, so one side gets shorter and works while the other side relaxes, and then it flips, and then the other side gets shorter and works while the first side relaxes. That's just how the body works in all aspects of it. And so there you go. Okay. There you go. We have a lot that we do, so stick around for it. I'm very uncomfortable with being placed in the position I'm in because I know I don't deserve it, being who I am. So we have another fourth of us, and that's this, in the Image Clothing Company podcast, and at least a little bit of to what the extent of what this is. But yes, we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ, aka the truth of all things. You don't have to be religious or anything like that, or believe in anything. I don't, but I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and it's just the truth of God. We're all human beings, the same thing placed on the same earth. We're all designed by one God in his image, Jesus Christ himself. And so we just discuss life as it is here. We give deep insights on life. I just, have a lot of experience and a lot of, even though it's self-proclaimed here, I really do wisdom on life because of, all the experience that I've had. So I speak on it as it is to the best of the degree that I can. We're not perfect, and God is. So we have another fourth of us in the Image Clothing Company music. A lot of what I do is show the sizing and setup of guitars to not alter things like that neutral wrist and that natural rounding to what I call our hand arches that correlate with the arches in our feet. And so there you go. Sizing and setup of guitar. I do a lot with lyricism, metronome madness. I filmed episode 33 of that today. I do a lot of freestyling, rhythm and poetry, spoken word type rap around the gospel of Jesus Christ. Check it out. Thank you. I feel like I can't even speak. I mean, I feel like if you have like venom in your body and you're trying to just get words across, and it's hard to form words and have your thought process work, because I've mentioned this as well before. When Jesus Christ gets touched by the woman with the issue of blood, she touches the hem of his garment because she knew she had the faith that even if she could touch the hem of his garment that he was wearing, he would be able to heal her. And he said that virtue went out of him. In the crowd of people, he didn't see who touched him, but he felt it, and he turned around and said, "Who touched me?" Even though he knows all things and knew who it was. He said virtue or power went out of him. And that's how I feel in moments like this, where I feel physically and emotionally, spiritually drained, but in a good way, because I'm pouring things out that I need to, to fulfill what I'm here to do on this earth. I'm very physically and emotionally uncomfortable, and it's not in a bad way. So, man. We have where clothing sits now that I'll discuss. Clothing has to sit in the same location for everybody. I say it like this: man or woman, tall or short, skinny or fat, from any part of the earth or any time period to ever be, you're just a human being. I think I missed one of the things that I normally say. There's 9, and then the 10th is it's everybody. Anyway, no matter who you are, Clothing has to sit where our pants are above our hips but below our lowest ribs. That's what's called our natural waist, where we bend side to side at our spine, and then we don't alter our bodies from there. We have the waistband of our pants sitting higher in the front, just very slightly, than in the rear, because that's how we keep our bodies neutral on Earth's gravity and our musculature, like our core and our hamstrings, activated. That's just the position our bodies would be in if we didn't put clothing on. So when we put pants on, that's how they have to be for everyone. The tops that we wear have seams on top of our shoulders. They need to sit evenly behind the peak of our shoulders. Our shoulders just mechanically connect behind our head, and they only work back there. That's, the neutral scapula position, or the natural scapula position, which is a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. And then the shoulders will follow our shoulder seams. So we keep the seams behind the peak of our shoulders, and then our shoulders can rest neutrally. The edges of our tops have seams, and it's a joint of material that needs to mesh as close as we can get right to where our shoulder joint is as well, to just have those two joints in the same location. Then we have two things we call prerequisites under In The Image Clothing Company to not alter the body. Firstly, weaving ropes across the top of our feet is what we call shoelaces, but there's only one way the human feet are mechanically shaped, with the tendons, ligaments, muscles, and bones in there, gripping arches inward, opposing the center line of our body, and keeping us vertical on Earth's gravity. And so we title it In The Image Clothing Company Shoelace Technique, just the only way the feet are shaped. There's no opinion of ours, and it's nothing to do with us other than we label it that so you can find it. We tie shoes as well as human beings, and we have to tie them evenly on both sides over toward the center line of the body, because it's just a knot of a rope with one side of the rope over the other, and just the way that reacts around our ankle joint, which should be right where our ankle flexes, right? Always stop laces at ankle flexion. A video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. Even with high tops, I advocate for high tops actually over low top shoes. I love them, and in many ways they're better for the body, but we have to stop our lacing right where our ankle flexes. And then secondly, our other prerequisite is to remove all tags from clothing. Anywhere a tag is placed in clothing, first off, it's one of those things only decades old as of today's date, but it's either causing a physical gap, changing the body's only working position, and or it's just not allowing musculature to activate. Then the body tries to do compensation, but everything in the body has a role to play, okay? So there's no compensation that can happen is the point. It only ever works activated as a whole. The whole body, we just can't drag around dead weight, and everything's there to do something, okay? Interesting. This will be an interesting episode because it's already interesting as far in it as I'm in. If you're watching this, if you're not just in audio only, but if you're in visual plus audio, because it's available in two forms, In The Image Clothing Company Podcast, both of those forms, then you can see and you can hear it as well, just in audio only. I'm very, very, very uncomfortable, and not in a bad way. You have context of past episodes of In The Image Clothing Company Podcast where I've been like this. There's one titled Your Life as a Journal. And then also one back in the spring of this year, 6+ months ago probably, where I was first announcing In The Image Clothing Company, having a fourth of it being about dogs that then became In The Image Clothing Company Poodles. And, in those episodes, and maybe other ones as well here, I'm not sure as of right now, but, as I said, I just cried and cried and cried and cried. My heart's in this for the sake of my love of dogs. And I have a lot of information on how to keep dogs healthy, and so we'll give a lot of that. But here we are through the intro. This episode is titled, as I said, An Intro to Poodle Parade Events. And I'll give a lot of information here because I've talked about them where I have, what to expect in ways of Poodle Parade events under In The Image Clothing Company Poodles. I've made a video titled An Introduction to Clean the Creek Poodle Parade Events. And at those and any similar events like that we do under In The Image Clothing Company Poodles, we'll do things for the environment where we actually will be cleaning up trash. So in the state of Utah here, we have mountains. This is a desert. There's an episode of In The Image Clothing Company Podcast titled Utah. And I explained a little bit of what our state is like here. we're a desert. We get true winters with good snow, and but then in the summers it's very warm and it's dry all year round. So mountains, lakes, rivers, lots of these things. We've got open desert areas though as well, where there's just kind of not much at all in places. But then there are places where it's very lush and green also, even though it is a true desert here. There's a lot of beautiful nature here, a lot of wildlife, a lot of a lot of beauty, man. I love it. I've been here my whole life, and I'm staying here my whole life, right? This is where In the Image Clothing Company will always be centered, is the state of Utah, the United States of America. And we've got a lot of beautiful state parks. We've got just public parks in a lot of different ways, campgrounds and just hikes, mountains. And when I say mountains, I mean like big, tall mountains. I know some people, depending on where you're from, if you hear mountain, to us it's like a little hill. The Rocky Mountain Range in the United States of America, that's right through the state of Utah here. So the whole state has mountains all over it where it does, and so it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, and we've got a lot of wildlife, a lot that we can do with Poodle Parade events where we can get people and dogs more used to things like being in water, being used to like the cold or just the fear of water. We can overcome in ways through Poodle Parade events with our dogs, for the dogs, but then also for owners of dogs, and our dogs can help us with these things, because a lot of what we can do, like I was saying, working with shelters, we can work with therapy, emotional support, and working dogs, through what we do with our poodles under In the Image Clothing Company poodles. And a lot of this stuff will allow us to work with people, whoever we end up doing it with, people with special needs, people with maybe, post-traumatic stress disorder. When I say my heart's in this, and if you don't know, especially up until today's date, there's not all that much context publicly besides just in me as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, knowing what I know, for people to know what all we're going to be able to do through this. And so, we can do a lot through Poodle Parade events specifically. And I word them as, family reunions where even if we have some, or if every one of the Poodle Parade events was scheduled and structured in a way where I gave no information, even, right? That's really a lot of what we are, is information on healthy dogs through all the ways. And a lot of what I discussed in the intro when I talked about this fourth of us in the Image Clothing Company Poodles, where we have Poodle Parade events. But through I'm struggling so hard to get through this. Yeah. Yeah. I talk about how some people can't even leave their houses without their dogs. People with such, debilitating issues they're dealing with, where the dogs can, prevent seizures from happening, in epilepsy, or, post-traumatic stress breakdown type things. These dogs, they can be trained through years of training to legitimately save lives, and call, you know, an ambulance or a relative or somebody to come and intervene. And the dogs can do it themselves as well. They can stop breakdowns that people, start into. And these dogs, people spend thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours training dogs to be lifesavers. And poodles, there's a video under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles titled Why We Chose Poodles. And I explained a lot of why we chose specifically the breed of poodle, and why specifically the standard size as well. And so dogs are awesome, and a lot of people don't understand that, but those that do, and those will be the people coming to Poodle Parade events, is those that do understand how much dogs really help human beings. And so here in the state of Utah, it's really cool because we can have a poodle parade event at a state park and have a multi-hour long hike where we're just seeing beautiful scenery. We've got red rocks, natural arches created through weather, at certain parks here in Utah, and just beautiful mountains, beautiful open plains. There's so many places we can go where we can just experience nature and be outside on God's earth with our dogs. And all together for the cause of, serving God, the goal being natural in all the ways where we can be uniting to learn more and then share more of the information on how to have things just work the most proper. We serve a God who's perfect, and he's the God of order. So that's the whole thing with advocating for proper breeding and the health of dogs. We, through who we are an advertisement for what we do. As I've said, in the Image Clothing Company, clothing is do everything clothing. We will always choose specific mother and father dogs to be bred into our breeding program under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles for do everything dogs. That's a big reason for the standard size. That's a big reason for the temperament and really the intelligence of a poodle, being the dogs that we chose to have as the dogs we use for what we do under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, because it meshes so well with what we do as a whole of In the Image Clothing Company. And so us wearing clothing that's intentional to allow our bodies to work, we just have what people would call good posture because the body naturally works well, and that's what we're aiming for whenever you would think of what good posture is. Our dogs, I talk about poodle posture. They will be very, very natural through the feeding, through what we place on them, through the materials that they're around, and being intentional about. I mean, I advocate for no toys for dogs and no treats for dogs, and just because dogs, and we'll get into all the reasons as to why, but this is what I mean is these things to keep dogs healthy. Well, I'll mention at least some of why with no toys specifically and no treats. Dogs need to be on a very specific diet so their bodies can digest well without having to, stomach ulcers and digestive problems, blockages, weight gain, and just not knowing how much your dog is eating because they're just eating all sorts of things all the time. These are a lot of the things with letting dogs stay natural that we talk about. And so many toys that are branded for dogs are actually just so damaging. Strings and ropes in toys that can really clog up a dog's digestive tract, and the endocrine system. It's a lot of preventative maintenance in a sense, preventing surgeries from happening that happens so often with dogs, from swallowing things when they're used to just chewing on things because we give them these toys made of unnatural materials. But anyway, this is a lot of just letting dogs stay natural, and we'll always talk about these things and get into it deeper as time progresses, mostly just meaning giving more information as time progresses. And yes, my understanding also as the founder and the whole team, we'll deepen our understandings as well as time goes. But at Poodle Parade events, our dogs will just be healthy in life. And so all of the dogs that come to Poodle Parade events, if they're dogs that are following the truth behind what we share under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, not just our information for the sake of it's our information, but we try all we can to just speak on truth on all four sides of us. Truth is truth. Truth is apart from all of us. Truth is God. It's another name for God, is the truth, the same yesterday, today, and forever. And really the truth is natural. The truth is how we are before there's any man-made false things, that decompose and alter us and our dogs. So a lot of what we do, I'm really uncomfortable with this in a good way. I love it. Is stuff that you don't have to ask us about. You can see that we have good posture as human beings. I don't like that word. I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean I don't use that word because there's no such thing as posture. It's just how would the human body work if it was never altered. And then that's what we do under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, is get out of these chronic patternings and scar tissue, right? From the right-handed world, from clothing imbalances, from, yeah, just the patternings we get into as human beings, shoelaces, drawstrings, just our daily life, right? Just being uncentered on Earth's center of gravity. And so these things just manifest themselves in who we are as human beings, and we don't have to even speak on what we do for people to be able to tell that we're different. That's what it means to be a disciple of Jesus Christ, is to be in the world but not of the world, right? Not be a part of all the things going on, but still being here and being around it while staying out of things that aren't good for us and damage us. And so these things with our dogs as well. And at Poodle Parade events, we'll have a big group, however many and however big each individual event we are, even if it's just a couple people, a few people, but if it's hundreds of people, thousands of people, depending on which event and where, time-wise and everything, whoever's coming, it will be people who are different. They're set apart, if you will, from the rest of the world because we do these things. We're intentional. We live lives where we're trying to be healthy as human beings, as dogs, meaning us as owners of dogs. We choose what our dogs do. Our dogs, if they're hungry, they can't just get food. Even if there's food in the cupboard or up on the countertop or somewhere in the house in the food bag, they can't just choose when they put food into their bowl and eat. Us as owners have entire control, really, over our dogs. It's because of that word, the owner. We own these dogs. So that's the whole thing, when we talk about registering dogs, giving our dogs birth certificates, and just, all the things that come with being a good owner of dogs, and all the ways that we can do these things, A lot of this, like I'm saying, we can discuss at Poodle Parade events, but often they won't even really have much information being spoken at them. A lot of them, kind of casually if we're talking, yes, but I want them in most all cases to just be, let's have fun. Let's enjoy hikes. I mean, that's one of the biggest things, and it doesn't have to be that we're hiking a big tall mountain, but a walk in nature, or just hanging out at parks. But I want it to be a very natural feeling, not to where we just come to a park in the middle of a city, maybe sometimes, but the goal is natural under all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company, as I've said in this, and as it just is and has been since the founding and always will be. And so just being able to get into nature is so awesome. And there's so many places here where if you're a photographer, you can bring your cameras, like your professional cameras. I've mentioned on past episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, I used to be a photographer. I had a professional camera. I'd actually use Adobe Lightroom, and I had a whole catalog of beautiful photos, and I'd edit photos. I was like a proper photographer there at a time in my life. And so at some of these locations, it's places you probably would never otherwise get. Maybe you just didn't know about the locations, and maybe you just wouldn't go there. And maybe even if you did, not maybe in this sense, but even if you did, you wouldn't have the opportunities for certain photographs that you'd have coming to a Poodle Parade event, and we can just have beautiful photos of our dogs on areas like mountaintops with sunsets, in meadows with just wildflowers up in the mountains here in Utah, in the summers and the springtime. The mountains in Utah in the fall are so ridiculous. Color-wise, just the fall leaves, the oranges and the reds and the yellows and the browns, and just the depth of color to our fall leaves here in the mountains. I mean, people, just for the sake of seeing the leaves, come from all over the world, truly. I mean, I've heard stories just throughout my life of people coming from all over the world to the mountains here in Utah just to drive up the canyons. We have so many canyons. It's not just that there's mountains and you have to just hike from the base of the mountain up, but we have canyons and you can drive up and get driven up onto like very, very high parts of the mountain. And then from there we can park and have Poodle Parade events. It's not that it has to be some crazy treacherous hike to be able to get into these beautiful locations. But Utah is so beautiful. As I say, we live up Utah under In the Image Clothing Company. This is our home. This is my home. I'm Utah native, like I said, and that's a big part of who and what we are, as In the Image Clothing Company, is the state of Utah, the United States of America. I mean, really, in the ways that we do what we do, that this is our home. It is, under In the Image Clothing Company. It always will be. But we'll have the team with us, and so however many poodles we bring specifically, I mean, I'll have at first, as long as I have her, which will be her whole life, but as long as she lives, Nita. But then any dogs that we have with us and the team can come, our team In the Image Clothing Company, our team can have a dog with them each, or however many dogs we have at the time, however many dogs we bring to Poodle Parade events. And it'll just be awesome, because what we can do is, I don't want to make it sound like I just don't want to talk about information there, but I just want to make it be able to be something that's just fun and casual, where it's not this scheduled, like, all right, I'm going to speak to all of you. You have to sit down and listen to me speak about, what our videos are about, when I give information on these things, letting dogs stay natural and allowing the body to work. But a big part of what we do, like I discuss a lot, correlating the two, the main side of In the Image Clothing Company and In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, is us as owners interacting with our dogs. Like I'm saying, the size of dogs, so we don't alter our bodies, but also things like holding leashes naturally, keeping our neutral wrist, and not having our dogs pull our bodies out of their neutral position while we're holding leashes, and keeping that rounded hand. We talk often about, if you use your middle two fingers to hold a handle in life, a leash for a dog, or something similar, then even just with only two fingers, using just your middle two, you can be stronger in that position than using all four of your fingers and pulling your index finger and your pinky finger backward, because our hands round in where our index finger and our pinky actually come in, right? Just because the length of the fingers, those are the two shortest ones on the outside. So we talk about these things, and this stuff we can give information on, at Poodle Parade events, but I wanted to just be fun. I just wanted to be fun. Meaning I'm the one scheduling them, and that's what it'll be. That's I'm just giving context here. That's what I'm saying, is it will just be fun. It'll be great. But we can as well, showing In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique to people who are there, and free modifications in clothing, the dreaded collar seam modification, the rotated seam modification, shoelaces, buttons, zippers. I mentioned shoelaces already. We talk about that always, as In the Image Clothing Company, and that's one of our two prerequisites in the Image Clothing Company shoelace technique. But, all things in clothing to just allow the body to work. We can discuss these things where we do, but also if you just know these things beforehand, you can speak to the people who are there as well about these things, and because we're going on hikes a lot of the time for these, and so we need our bodies to be able to, and we need our dogs to be able to. And so that's the whole thing, right? It's we do these things for a very, very specific and deep reason, and actually really it's a lot of reasons. Because keeping collars of dogs centered and light, and the leashes put onto the dogs properly, where we're not pulling the dogs all over and then getting after them for not walking straight when the leash is pulling them to the side. Things we just don't know if we don't know, and that's fine. We can't be held accountable for what we don't know, but a lot of these things we can give little tips here and there at Poodle Parade events, and then it'll be real time. We'll actually be on a walk or on a hike, and showing these things personally while we're just doing the thing. How to walk a dog while we're walking our dogs. How to interact with your dog while we're interacting with dogs, in a mass setting, all there together at a Poodle Parade event. So this is what I'm saying is it'll be a lot of beautiful stuff that incorporates all that we are as In the Image Clothing Company, in events. And even though they're Poodle Parade events specifically for In the Image Clothing Company poodles, yeah, I mean, they're essentially still events for the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, allowing the body to work because we're there as the owners of the dog as well, right? So that's why we are what we are, and that's why we have the four sides of In the Image Clothing Company that we do, and why they're laid out how they are is because they all are one. They all can and are in a sense, but could be their own specific unique company, just each of the fourths by themselves. But then they all bleed over and correlate with all the other three sides also. That's just how this is structured. That's how God has laid this out through me. Yeah. Okay. And so it's really cool because a lot of people, just need a lot of information, and we can give it there. But so much of the focus is the environment, and so much of the focus is Utah. The environment meaning the health of the environment. Um, Even if we're not necessarily cleaning up trash at specific Poodle Parade events, because certain ones we will. That'll be the point of hosting one in times, is just to mostly clean up trash, but then also just have fun with the dogs and us as well. But we can do things where we just talk about things and advocate for things, and just our words and just our awareness that we give, even not actually doing things in certain times, but just speaking on them, and bringing, shining light on things that people don't realize is happening. That can help. Even just reusing things to pick up your dog's feces, like grocery bags, bread bags, and things like this. Reusing these things rather than purchasing these not so well decomposable dog bags to pick up the feces for the dogs. This is what I mean. A lot. We do a lot. I'm in this for life. That's why this is so beautiful. A lot of it's just, the things that I'm speaking on. I just need to, I need to say these things. All right. A documentation, your life as a journal, as I say. I mean, it's just what it is. And I'm so uncomfortable, and not in a bad way, but a good way, very good way, because the state of Utah, man, it's awesome. And Poodle Parade events are awesome. I mean, we can just have things like fires, I mean, where it's legally allowed, and times of the year where it's legally allowed. Being a desert, it's sometimes there's restrictions, rightfully so, on fires, but even things like this, that's what I'm saying, advocating for, if we're not supposed to have fires, do not have a fire for the sake of our earth, right? We give a lot of information, more than just dogs, more than just humans, but for the earth, for the environment. We really, really, truly do, and always will. And you'll see it as time progresses. I'm documenting it now. Okay, so kind of foreshadowing on what's to come. That's why it's titled An Intro to Poodle Parade Events. And then as they come, they might be, at least some of them, and maybe most all of them even, or all of them, a lot more elaborate than I even know as of now. The scheduling, the locations, what we're really doing, how it's laid out, who we're involved with as far as companies, other companies or organizations, shelters, like I'm saying, for dogs, companies for and around environmental health, service dog type companies. I mentioned a lot of these things. We'll work with a lot of people in the ways that we do. And again, I'm foreshadowing. I'm giving introduction on what is to come. At least expect similar things like this, so you know where this is headed, and what to expect. So yeah, Poodle Parade events, right? But what I was saying is we could have like evening time be had, right? Our Poodle Parade events could be in the daytime and bleed into the evening or into the night, or we could just have them at night, and we can have, guitars and bring music. Live music is what I mean, like, instruments, not electronic, like speakers, but actual real. Again, the goal is natural. We can play music instrument wise live around fires with our dogs, and just on the top of a mountain somewhere, or out in the middle of the desert by the lake. I mean, these are things that are a very normal thing for Utah, and maybe some people that, if people come from out of state, they're like, "You guys just do this stuff? It sounds kind of like a movie." Maybe I'm saying that because I know that a lot of people here, a lot of what people's more regular life is like, and it's just so different than where they are. If you're coming from a city, you're like, you guys really do these things? Like, I just, I try to hit things from all angles. I try to discuss things so no matter who you are or where you're from, you can understand them well. Um, Utah's really cool. It's a very natural place. It is. I mean, we don't have any cities. We have Salt Lake City, right? The capital city. But people who live in a city would be like, that's not a city. It's very small. But I love Utah for how small it is. We have towns, not cities. Um, but it's very nice here as well. So um, anyway, I mean, Poodle Parade events, man. Um, but yeah, we can get a lot of people into nature, and that's just the big thing, man. Is just hanging out in nature. So this is a lot of what Poodle Parade events will be like. I think that's the bulk of what this is just an introduction, because I've talked about it where I have, but I needed, regardless of what I want, God said, make an episode tonight titled An Intro to Poodle Parade Events, because uh, these are numbered. In the Image Clothing Company podcast episodes, I mean, our other videos, they could live on forever as long as they're, videos we feel good about. And that's the ideal with any video we ever make, is to try to only make things that are, worth our time, if you will. I mean, really, and true, valid. But in the Image Clothing Company podcast, this is kind of our central place. This is where we stay rooted, because we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so here we can have this to where, anytime ever down the road, you can look back, and this will at least give a lot of context on a lot of what Poodle Parade events will be like, even if, like I'm saying, they get more elaborate, if you will, as time goes. And I'm so simple, in the Image Clothing Company is so simple. Minimal is a lot of what we do, our products being light and minimal, simplistic, always, logo-less, brandless on the exterior with our clothing, so I mean, I'm very simple. When I say elaborate, I don't mean that it's going to be this like hugely put on thing, but just as far as, once the team comes, I can have other people help me with things. I can only do so much by myself, and I can't do a lot of things by myself. If you can see on both ends how I could word that on both ends. So I need a team, and then their ideas and their help will be helpful. As time goes on. And then also, once we get established with other companies or brands or shelters, organizations, communities, who we will actually be collaborating with, maybe often, or maybe just for like specific times, maybe just once per certain people, or whatever, right? Then that can help us as well kind of approach these in a little bit different way, to gear it toward what we're doing, like who we're working with organization wise, in any given time. So there's a lot that goes with this, and a lot that will come with this, I guess, as time progresses. So stick around for it. Just don't think that I'm, having a dream about some cute puppies one day, and I word it like this, it's not just like we have cute puppies and we're so excited about them until they grow up and into an adult, and now we don't know what to do because they're not the same cute puppy that they were, and we don't want them anymore. We're here for the health of dogs, for the longevity of dogs, letting dogs stay natural. That comes in so many different avenues of what we show and do. And when I say we specialize in purebred standard poodles, I don't just mean out of all the dog breeds, we choose one specifically, and that's what we talk about, because that is the case. But what I'm trying to say is we specialize, as far as we, as in the Image Clothing Company Poodles, will just dive into and learn all that we can, and I'll have the team, make sure that they're as knowledgeable as we can have them be, and everyone will be involved. We will all be an equal part in this, even equal to me as the founder. I mean, I play my own role as the leader, but just we're all equal human beings, and when I say we specialize in purebred standard poodles, we'll learn all we can about genealogy of dogs, the health of dogs, breeding and deeply, like specializing as far as like we are specialists in this subject. Like we're very knowledgeable about it. That's how we'll always be under what we always do. And you know this already. I'm not trying to make a claim for down the road of a hypothetical maybe will become something. But this is what In The Image Clothing Company is, doing things properly, even if they don't seem so like professionally done in a worldly standard. When you hear me discuss on the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, the anatomy of the human body, and just how thoroughly I understand things and deeply dive into my explanations of things and my personal experience of things and, the situations I put myself into with the things that I really care deeply about to learn deeply about. This is how we'll always be with Poodles. And I'll make sure that, like I'm saying, the team is always really locked in. We'll pick amazing people to be on our team, really really God-loving, God-fearing, truly, good people who love the earth, love the environment for the sake of helping it, love dogs and treat the dogs just like they treat any other human being. Um, we'll always have such an amazing team. We'll be, hear this correct and for the right reasons, we'll be very strict about who's on our team always, for the sake of just some amazing people, I need people. I need them, I need people by my side, as far as the team, because, just because I can't do everything alone, obviously. If that's not obvious, I guess, yeah, that's not obvious to some people. We talk about that often in the Image Clothing Company podcast, how we try to do things on our own and we just cannot. As human beings, that's part of the human condition, but not only relying on God, but also he places people in our lives to really help us. And so our team will be that, not only people to just do things for me, right? Truly, really, that's just how it works when you're running a company, but also people who, I need as far as emotionally, emotionally supporting me through all that I need to do as far as scheduling events and dealing with, the magnitude of people and dogs we'll have, people who anyway, the people, I just want to make it a little bit, give a little context on who I will be choosing as team members, as just the life of Evan Strong as the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. We'll have an amazing team, and they'll be at events always. We'll always bring team members with us to the events. It'll be a family. It always is. That's what I say. We're a community, really. More than ever, possibly saying we're a business. We're a company, and that's kind of synonymous with the word community in the ways that we use it. Under In The Image Clothing Company. So that's how our team will be. That's how our dogs will be. As I say, they're just as much employees or team members of In The Image Clothing Company as any one of us human beings. And so just stick around for it, Poodle Parade events. No parades. We're not going to be walking down the road with a float, and, a marching band. No. But we just title it like that. The alliterations, Clean the Creek, Poodle Parades, In The Image Clothing Company. We have a lot of alliterations. We do a lot of lyricism under In The Image Clothing Company music, so there's a lot of symbolism behind a lot of what we do. There really is. So just expect it. Expect to just have a good time. Expect the weather to be something you cannot expect because Utah is very unpredictable temperature-wise and just, random weather shifts. And a lot of parts of the earth are like that. But that's how it will always be. Sometimes it might be very hot when we maybe didn't expect it to be quite so hot. Always wear proper clothing. If we have hikes that we're going on, make sure you're prepared. Always bring, this is a good thing to say in this. And we'll have I guess flyers, announcements on InTheImageClothingCompany.com before each event, giving specific directions to the location we'll meet at, the timing, what to bring, and then, what you can't bring, like no dogs other than poodles, purebred or mixed poodles. But things like this, always at any Poodle Parade event under In The Image Clothing Company Poodles, always bring enough hydration for you and any dog you bring. Okay? Personally. Always bring enough food for you and any dog you bring. Okay? like you personally in charge of your own and your own dog's food and hydration. Always bring a leash or some way, because I love slip leads, and we'll get into talking a lot about that. And a lot of what we do is debunk things on people think, well, this one thing alone, people think slip leads are very dangerous for dogs and like it's just choking them. It can, certainly, but it's also much more beneficial in many ways than a traditional collar and a leash. And so for every dog you bring, you have to bring something to restrain your dog. Collar and a leash, or a slip lead, or a harness and a leash, something like this for every dog you bring, because depending on where we are, and then also just, being around so many other dogs and so many other people, you have to be able to restrain every dog you bring. And then, any aggression that you know of in a dog, if you have a dog that you can predict will be aggressive, do not bring predictably aggressive dogs to poodle parade events. Do not. Leave them at homes, well, at your home, ideally, or with somebody if at a different home. But you know what I mean. Do not bring dogs that you know are aggressive to poodle parade events, ever. Do not. Any dog can be aggressive for any reason, but that's what it is, just like any human being could. But do not bring dogs you know are already and just generally aggressive. Do not. They are not allowed at poodle parade events. No dogs that you can almost guarantee are going to start fights with other dogs or bite another human being. Do not bring those dogs. I mean, that's like a put my foot through the floor kind of like no. There are certain dogs, and there's a lot of reasons as to why that could go into it, but that are just very, very aggressive. Not to say that they're terrible dogs, but not dogs to bring to a public event with a lot of other dogs and a lot of other human beings, children that could potentially be harmed by these dogs. Do not. I mean, that's like a clear, hard no, just to be very clear. Yeah, that's one of those things that just might not be obvious to some people, and maybe that's just how it is. Maybe people wouldn't think not to, but no, right? If you know that you have an aggressive dog, leave them wherever you want that is safe for them and people around them. That is not a poodle parade event. Do not bring them. But right, there are certain things. If you know me at all, I mean, I'm as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, I get very bold on certain things. I mean, that's one of the 4 things I say: blunt, bold, well, blunt as well, right? Raw and real, in the Image Clothing Company style. That's what I'd say, So if I get very, very, very bold on certain things. And I'm not trying to be mean, but there are certain things you have to put your foot down on for safety reasons. And that's one of them, aggressive dogs. Do not bring dogs that are just generally aggressive to poodle parade events. Do not. I mean, we'll ask you to leave, and then it's just like, well, now it's inconvenient because you came, and then you have to now figure out what to do because you can't stay. And that's the thing, is we'll ask people to leave if we ask people to leave. It's just like businesses. You hear that phrase, like we reserve the right to refuse service to anyone. Businesses have the right, at least here in the United States of America, to do that. That's how our events will always be. I mean, if we need to put our foot down and tell someone to leave, you're obligated to leave. I mean, it's our company's scheduled event, right? Certain things like this, aggression and things like this, because we'll always, again, I know this is the kind of the parts of things that people don't like to hear, when people get real and kind of seem like they're being so forceful or, whatever, telling you what to do. But just remember, these are our events. Our company is in charge of our company's events. And so things like, always asking the owner before you pet anybody's dog. And this is how we really do all we can to avoid things like, potential bites from dogs and things like this. Keep your distance. Man, I mean, just we advocate for keeping dogs healthy, and we don't want dogs just interacting with dogs when they weren't planning to, or owners having other owners just bring their dog up and it's jumping all over your dog. I mean, man, we do things properly here, and so sometimes we say things that are very harsh, but that's how we do things properly, right? That's what that means, to do things properly, is have, know your limits and know where to put the foot down and know where to say no, and we do. And our team will as well. You have to always be respectful of our team. Um, because maybe some people at our team won't have as bold of a voice, if you will, as I can at times, right? And so if we have one of our team members at the Poodle Parade event and somebody's doing something that's really not cohesive, if you will, right, in accordance to what our events are about, and we need to really like stop it, and then one of our team members like kind of calls you out on it, says something, yeah, I mean, you have to listen to our team members. We'll train them well on, just as employees of ours, on how to really regulate things, and so, I mean, it's a real thing, I mean, this is, if that's not obvious, I want to make it clear, like, it'll be big, it'll be really big. That's what I mean when I say always a huge name in poodles. Whether you take it seriously or not, a lot of what we do is very serious, truly. I mean, like, life altering, and, yeah, I mean, right, it gets really deep. So anyway, this is a lot of what Poodle Parade events will always look like, at least generally, in ways it'll be very similar to this. So yeah, man, I mean, when we have specific events, we'll talk about maybe if we, ask people if they can bring certain things, like ways to take trash to like a local dump or something after things like Poodle Parade events, for the environment, clean the creek type ones, and whatever else we do like that, where maybe we can ask people like, hey, if you're gonna come, if you could, bring a truck or bring some extra like ways to contain garbage that we can take, that we clean up, from where we do. And we'll just make that clear, like I said, in all the, I guess you could call them flyers, announcements before each individual Poodle Parade event. So anyway, yeah, I mean, it's as of today's date, those that know what I'm doing with this, because it is only me as of right now, and up until now, a little over a year into founding In The Image Clothing Company, people like right now, for example, might not really see what's coming. But then down the road, once we have some Poodle Parade events behind us, and once we have products, and we have our team, and we have our dogs, poodles, purebred standard size, right? And, when it comes to us having our building here in Utah, and just, having even more behind us than we already do, we have hundreds of videos and so much context, but as time progresses, it will be more obvious. But as of today's date, I know that a lot of people might not really know, I guess we could word it as the magnitude of what all this will be, and so when I'm so bold and strict on saying things that haven't even happened yet, like, parameters around, how to act and be at Poodle Parade events, you'll see what I mean. Because if we've got 40, 60, 100, 300, however many human beings and or dogs at a Poodle Parade event, and, me and the team and I are like trying to just keep things in order, we all have to kind of do our part when we're coming together like this. And so it is one of those things where, yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to be very strict, where we need to. These are animals. They're potentially very dangerous. You can get a bite, um, from animal to human, from dog to dog, right? I mean, like, there's a lot that goes into this, and so also just scheduling. If specifically things like other people's locations, like national parks. Well, yes, but state parks here, in the state of Utah, things like this where we're actually scheduling, kind of like using somebody else's facilities in a way. These are a lot of reasons why. I mean, yeah, there's gonna be times when I get like real bold with it, like real harsh no's. But then also, I mean, yeah, it's you just got to see why, I mean, that's the whole thing. We've got to keep people healthy and safe. Um, Also, I mean, animals, things like rattlesnakes and, yeah, poisonous, venomous animals. When we've got all these dogs out here just in sagebrush, like this knee-high brush, like bushes that we have so commonly here in Utah, and then just anywhere in the mountains. I mean, yeah, we've got a lot of stuff. So that's the other thing, if you do bring like maybe snake bite kits and um, first aid kits, so that we've just got some stuff on hand, so that us as the team, we don't have to provide everything because, I mean, we want this to be like a community type thing. It takes a village to make a village. You know what I mean? And so if we have people, we talk about playing our roles, just often under In the Image Clothing Company podcast specifically, and then everything in the human body or the body of dogs, playing its role. Everything has a role to play. You hear me say that. So this is kind of what it is we're a community with this, and so we want people to be involved. And when people can actually help with things, like bring things, like I'm saying, ways to contain trash, or first aid stuff, snake bite kits, maybe bear spray. I mean, I don't know, we have black bear in Utah, and just don't like fear the wild animals. It's not like we're going to get ourselves in crazy situations where people are just going to be dying if we're not extremely safe. But I mean, we got a lot of dogs with us. We've got a lot of people. Everyone's got their own medical health conditions where they do. So if you can bring things, just I mean, don't feel like you got to pack up your whole truck with everything you could possibly think of. But yeah, I mean, if people bring some first aid kits, snake bite kits, maybe bear spray, bug spray, things like this that we could share with each other if needed, and just to make sure that we have what we would need, because I mean, we're scheduling these events just out in nature, I mean, like true wilderness nature in times, we'll drive out of cell service almost certainly. I mean, I can't speak for going down the road if maybe there's not even places on the earth that don't have cell service at some time, going forth. I don't know yet, right? But this is what I mean is we'll be clear up in the mountains at times. We'll be clear out in the desert at times. And so this is what I mean. Why I said earlier, like God said, yeah, just make this episode tonight, like now. Even though you've talked about this some where you have, and I mentioned Poodle Parade events as of this time and past videos, quite a few of the past videos for the past months, I've said in almost every intro when I do our full intro, on the main side of In the Image Clothing Company and In the Image Clothing Company podcast, I have said something about Poodle Parade events just to kind of like get the ball rolling, give some people an idea of what's to come. But this is a really good, much more thorough than most all the other times I talk about it, discussion, at least up until now, on what to expect, at least generally, of Poodle Parade events going forward, right? And for my life, I'm in this for life. And so anyway, yeah, I mean, there you go, right? A lot of cool things. And I've mentioned this before, but just small dogs, not to talk down on small dogs, but that's kind of almost a pun in itself, right? Almost like a play on words, talking down to a small dog. That's what I mean, is that they're just physically small. And so just know, right, if you do bring small dogs and we're going on like an entire day long Poodle Parade event, outing, if you will, if your dog can't keep up on a hike, that's fine, but just know, again, we'll make it clear on what it will be like as far as a specific location for the individual event. But just know you'll have to be okay with either carrying your dog or putting them in a backpack type thing, or turning around if your dog just can't keep up. Nothing like, I'm not trying to say anything bad about small dogs, but just the contrast. We'll have really big, tall, standard size poodles, like 70-pound dogs, give or take, and then you've got these little like 15-pound, 5-pound, somewhere in between toy poodle type size dogs. Just what's going to be more physically capable on a hike? It's physics, it's mechanics, it's that's what we talk about a lot, is body mechanics. And so just again, just being aware of these things. Just remember, I mean, this is it's not like we're going to be indoors where you just bring your dog and there's going to be public bathrooms or restrooms, right? However you say that or understand it, wherever you're from. I mean, we're going to be in the nature. We're going to be in the mountains or wherever we are, right? Sometimes away from all restrooms. So think about that, using the bathroom in nature, things like this. I just know some people aren't familiar with this. Some people have never gone camping. or even into the mountains or out into what they would call the wilderness. A lot of people are from just cities and they just wouldn't know what to expect. We'll have people with us, and there'll be enough people there who know what to do that will be good. But just expect it to be what it is. I mean, do a little bit of like, I guess, like thinking into what we're really doing at each specific event, just so you know at least some of what to expect. Um, yeah, man, and it'll be cool. Again, remember, it's a lot of it's just for fun. So much enjoyment. That's the point. That's the point of having dogs. Well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons and points to having dogs, but companionship. And just adventures and I mean, they're our best friends. They're just as much our children as our children are. They're just as much our siblings as our siblings are. They're just as much family as anybody else who is. Um, so so yeah. I mean, I'm picturing a lot of the people that will be coming and just wanting to attend Poodle Parade events. Involve yourself, like I say. The episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast with that title. Yeah, involve yourself. I mean, because because we're doing things, man. I mean, we are really, really doing things. And so, take photos, take videos, come and share what we do, because it will help. Not only help grow our company, and yes, it will. Anything you share of what we do under In the Image Clothing Company at all, any of the four sides of us, but I mean, it'll help owners of dogs across the earth if they come across In the Image Clothing Company Poodle content, because yeah, man. In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, we do all that we do, and you know what that is if you know what that is, and it's not just about Utah's residents, right? As far as the people here or the dogs here, it's about the entire earth because of the gift of video, because of modern technology, in ways that it couldn't have happened like this in the past. We can change lives of human beings as the owners of dogs and their dogs as well, across our entire earth with our information. And so Poodle Parade events, as well as just some cool photos and videos of nature and of your dogs in nature or you in nature and just the experiences we have there. Um, Also just, um, sharing a lot of the advocacy for the environment, and just again all of what we do under In the Image Clothing Company through just any video or photo you ever take at any event under In the Image Clothing Company. Share it where and how you do, because that's the point. That's how we grow. And again, for the sake of helping people, not just to have more sales, but it will help us with that as well. And then that can help us with all that we do, right? It just always, it kind of like feeds into itself, for the sake of benefiting people and dogs across the earth. Seriously. All right, so this is a big thing that we'll always have, and like I've said, we'll have many, 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 many of them, and we'll do a lot more event-wise in the ways that we do that wouldn't necessarily be labeled as a Poodle Parade event, and we'll do things, more geared around the main side of In the Image Clothing Company event-wise as time goes. But I'm not somebody who wants to just be in an office all day by any means, and I will not be. I'm just giving context, like, no. I mean, I'll have, shoot, not that I'm like passing my work off to someone else, but we've got our team where I'm going to have people who are dealing with the emails, the phone calls, and all that type of stuff, the technology side of things. And, I'm not, those people will be coming to events as well, but I'm just saying, me as the founder and the one giving this information, and really In the Image Clothing Company as a whole, it's not about products. That's the point. That's what I'm trying to get at, really, is we're not just a company who, yeah, we'll say we do all this for the environment, but really we're just in an office all day, or in a warehouse all day, or like a manufacturing plant just pumping products out for sales. We're not about money, and we're not about fashion. We have these things to do all the other things that we do, to allow the body to work and to let dogs stay natural. We need good do everything clothing, do everything dog products, but for the sake of being able to do everything that we do in our lives, So what I meant was not that the people who are working on all the technology stuff will just be at at our building just doing their work, and we'll be out having fun at Poodle Parade events. That's not what I meant. I guess that's good to say on both ends. Good to say to where it could sound like that so that I can clear it up as well, because no, I mean the whole team will be involved with all that we do, but what I'm saying is our whole focus is just living life. I mean, just get out there and have fun, get back into nature. And the only reason for the products is to, like I was saying, right, help us with these things. And so it's not that these things are a sales pitch for our products, but our products are not really like a sales pitch for life, but do you see what I mean of the end that it's on? That's what I'm saying, right? Because this is good context. Up until today's date, I have not ever worn anything that we could call In the Image Clothing Company clothing. We just don't have it yet as of today, the 17th of October, 2025. It's about allowing the body to work. And I've made all the, around 270 something videos on the main side of In the Image Clothing Company up until now without having our own clothing, with just free modifications that we give. I've made videos at specifically the South Utah Valley Animal Shelter here in Utah, with a couple different dogs, for the sake of the importance of intentional collars and keeping less dogs in shelters, more dogs at homes. These were the titles of those videos. So we do all this, right? We don't just do it for products. We have products so that we can do these things. That's a good thing to make clear, and I do where I do, but correlating it with this and saying it in this episode where I'm giving so much information on a lot of what to expect at Poodle Parade events, right? So there you go, man. I mean, it's big. It's bigger than big. That's why I say it. It's huge. I've been saying since the very founding, In the Image Clothing Company is and always will be, has been since the founding, huge. Because we just speak on things in all the ways that we can, being imperfect, that will last forever and are universal. Information is universal for all dogs. Information is universal for all human beings, as far as the things that we discuss, letting dogs stay natural and allowing the body to work. And so just coming together as a collective of people who have these intentions, right? Who have the intention of their life with the goal being natural. Do you see what I mean? These are the kind of people we'll have at Poodle Parade events, right? These are the kind of people we'll have as our team under In the Image Clothing Company. And so anyway, I mean, yeah, there you go. A lot of cool things. There's a lot that we do with debunking myths. It's so annoying to have noise around dogs' necks, jingling on their collars, noise. I mean, there's a video on the main site of In the Image Clothing Company. This is really great to say in this, titled "The Importance of Quiet Clothing." We tie these little knots, or I do, and I show too, for the benefit that comes from it is the point. In the end of our shoelaces called aglets, right? I tie these little knots here to quiet down the aglets from hitting the shoes. These are my Denver leather boots by Xero, Xero, the brand. Shout out to them, as I have since basically the founding date of In the Image Clothing Company. Anyway, I love Xero, the brand of shoe, so much. And so that's the thing. Again, we can work with so many brands and ways, and then kind of like show that the proof is in the pudding. You come to a Poodle Parade event and it's like our team just has an easier time hiking than most all people would, but maybe they're not even like all that athletic, but we just show them how to not restrict their body. It's what I mean. It all bleeds over, and all four sides of us and what we do into all the other three sides as well. So In the Image Clothing Company, Poodle Parade events, this is a lot of what to expect. And I mean, you'll get insights. I'm not trying to even make claims. I just know that I know how much we do is what I know, right? Because I know that it sounds like a lot is what I mean by I'm not trying to make claims. It's not just like I keep trying to come up with things to say to make it sound good. This is really what we are. We will give insights at Poodle Parade events specifically on things that will change your entire life. We can teach you and show you, and there will just be people there who know about allowing the body to work. And so coming to a Poodle Parade event that's kind of mostly for our dogs. You can learn things about your own body that will change the rest of your entire life, but then the ownership of your dog as well, and just, all that we do. I don't want to be redundant, but I'm not. I just know that there's so much to this that sometimes I don't really realize that I haven't really said all that thoroughly yet, because I say so much. I mean, I make these videos at this time. I mean, every day I've been making something in the past week or two at least. The numbers, like I said, of videos that we have on at least a couple of the sides of us, as far as what I've mentioned here, just within a year. I've made so much content, for the sake of context, right? Context over content. That's a title of one of our episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. So anyway, just a lot of good stuff, so that when things do come, you don't have to question on what we're getting into. It's like, no, we're just finally doing these things that we had to build up to, and I've built up to it, and Poodle Parade events are one of those things where even at our very first one, there will be so much background context on what to expect. And so when I announce them, it's like, oh yeah, he's been talking about this for, well, let's say we do one like tomorrow, because tomorrow's a Saturday. We will not be doing one tomorrow. I don't have Nita yet even, but let's hypothetically, if we did one tomorrow, it's like, oh, he has been talking about this as of tomorrow from today's date, right? Which would be the 18th of October, 2025. It's been like 6 months at least since he's been talking about these things, stuff to do with dogs and, poodles, and the events where we can get together. So that's what I mean, is a lot of this is just needed to be said, so we don't have to try to get things off the ground once we start doing things. I've already like laid so much groundwork, so once we start doing them, it's like, yeah, we know what we're doing. We'll flow through it, and it'll just work well. And then also, this can help us really like get our foot in the door, yeah, with other companies, right? Is all this stuff that we have laid beforehand. Yeah, we'll work with some amazing companies who do a lot of the same and very similar things to what we do for the body, for dogs, for the environment. And I've said these things to a degree, but like I'm saying, it's not redundant, because there's deep in context where there is, and stick around for the poodles. That's what I've been saying, and I've been saying it because we do so much. I mean, this is just specifically about the events that we call poodle parades, and this isn't all that we are under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles. That's a good thing to correlate, again, mentioning in this specific episode. This is just one thing we could call a poodle parade event, as far as, out of any kind of thing we could have as an event, where we correlate poodles with, because we just always will have poodles with us. It's so huge as far as like the percentage of what we do, like I'm saying, with poodles. But we'll always do so much more in all the other ways we do than just specifically this one type of event we call poodle parades. And then even within there's the subcategories where there is, right? So I just want to make it clear what we are, who we are, and as of today's date, right? I'm documenting these things. Again, so much of it's just about the date marks for the congruency. Yeah, for a testimony of God telling me a lot of what's to come before it does, and then it being played out and you seeing it when it comes. You and I mean, everybody, I mean, it hasn't actually happened in the physical yet for me to see it either, but I've been given and shown the things, that I have, to the degree that I have. So there you go, man. That's where I'll leave this. All right. So it is the 17th of October, 2025. Just know Poodle Parade events are only a part of what all we will always be doing with poodles, and even the approach of what we have to letting dogs stay natural, and poodles in our life, just as human beings, and how we approach that under In the Image Clothing Company as a whole, all four sides of us. So the big thing is that will be a big part of what we do, and that will be a big part of how people can involve themselves, and most everybody. Certain things we do might just be working with only specific organizations, where it's not like you can have pretty much anybody come. But that's where poodle parades sit is, yeah, pretty much anyone. If you've got a poodle that's a purebred or a mixed poodle, come, I mean, parameters, like I'm saying, like we lay out of who may not really fit being able to come, a lot of that who is the dogs, aggressive dogs, and right. And yeah, people too. I mean, if we've got people that just can't really cohabitate with us there, we'll ask you to leave. And remember, even if it's in a natural environment, it's our event. So if we ask you to leave, you got to leave like our, vicinity, even though we don't have like control over like the wilderness, right? Just be respectful, and we'll have the team backing that, and we'll have the people who understand what's going on there backing that. Sometimes you got to kind of ask people to step back if we can't really, you know, work together that well, depending on who it is. Because when you are just bringing anybody and everybody who you invite anywhere to come, sometimes it can be kind of hard to really not have pretty severe clashing of ways of doing things. Let's word it like that, because we know, we know what we know in times when things just don't quite work, right? So just know we're pretty strict where we are. I mean, we're doing things proper, right? So there you go, man. Poodle Parade events. That's a lot of what we'll do. All right. So yeah, it'll be cool, man. Because we can do things in water too. I mean, there's Utah Lake, there's the Great Salt Lake, there's ponds and just rivers. Even not just specific Clean the Creek Poodle Parade events. I know that kind of sounds like maybe when we're doing things with water, it would only be to clean up, trash in the water. But no, I mean, we can do events at lakes or whatever too, where, we're just having fun. I mean, that's what I mean. It's just fun, man. It's just fun. It'll be so cool. And these dogs are just so awesome, I love poodles, man. I love them. So, don't come for me. Don't come for the wrong reasons, right? Come to have fun. Don't come just for the information only, but you'll get information as well. Just come to experience, come for the nature, come for your dog and for their sake to meet new other dog friends, and maybe you'll meet new friends that then you can go do things with, just you guys apart from In The Image Clothing Company, but you met at a Poodle Parade event, right? See what I mean? We can bring a lot of people together. That's what we do. That's the whole part about it being a company, being basically synonymous with community. A lot of it is to bring people together, and then the dogs just kind of help with that, So much of it is about the health of people. I mean, mental health as well, just getting into nature, it just helps so much. So much. Because then you can take a lot of the information you get from us and then go camping, like on your own or with other people, you know what I mean? Because that's what I mean is a lot of people just don't know how to even get introduced to nature. Truly. I mean, it's overwhelming to people. Because I mean, that's kind of what I was saying earlier when I said, like, don't be afraid when I start talking about like Western diamondback rattlesnakes and black bear that could kill you. You definitely could die for sure. But you can die doing anything. I want to say that because I know, some people are really overwhelmed with nature. I mean, they're afraid of it, actually, truly. And so that's, again, a big reason for Poodle Parade events. Yeah. There's a lot of, like, sensitive topics, in a way. If we can word it like that, that we can kind of, like, break through and push through. A lot of barriers with people. If you know Bear Grylls, he's somebody who is, like, a nature survivalist. He used to be in the military where he's from, and he takes people out and just gets really real and deep with them and kind of like breaks through barriers and helps them overcome fears and things like that. And that's not necessarily like the root goal behind Poodle Parade events, but again, I'm just giving a lot of context on what our approach really is, why we're really doing this. It really is these type of things. Seriously. I mean, we can have certain events where we just get a lot of people who are how do I phrase this? Because there's a lot of like ways that this could be, but like special needs in whatever way that could come, right? Mental or emotional, physical. This is what I mean. I mean this, dude. You see how emotional I get over it when I talk about what all we are going to be allowed to do through Poodles, um, because we have it as 1/4 of In the Image Clothing Company. In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, always a huge name in Poodles. For these reasons, they have like horses sometimes where they bring people to ride horses and interact with horses, like people who do have special needs, again, in whatever way that means, because there's all sorts of needs that we could have, especially personally, that we need that other people don't really need so much, special needs. Let's right in all the ways. These are the things that we really do as In the Image Clothing Company Poodles. I just want to make it so clear. And we can have specific Poodle Parade events geared around like something just like this, like people with these type of needs or people with this type of specific approach they need to take to life because they're in this type of situation, and then whatever that is, because we can gear it in the ways that we do. Oh shoot, see, now I might get emotional. For each specific Poodle Parade event, some of them could be like that, because that's a big reason, as I've mentioned, that video I referenced, why we chose Poodles is the title, and that's a big reason why is the poodle, their intelligence, but also their like strong desire, even stronger and higher than a lot of other dog breeds, to please their owners. They're very what's called clingy dogs, but they're so intelligent and they're so in tune with their owner. People who own poodles, they say it's more like just having a best friend. And again, all dogs are great in the ways that all dogs are great. I know that I talk poodles up so much that it might seem like I don't care at all about other dogs. There's a lot of dogs that I really, really, really do like for reasons. But I definitely love poodles way more than any other dog breed at all, for sure, right? And that's probably the most ideal way to have that be, being the founder of, this fourth, well, all four sides, but In the Image Clothing Company Poodles. Right. That's why I am, is because my heart's in it so deep with specifically the breed of poodle. But poodles, that's why they get used as service dogs so much, and emotional support dogs, therapy dogs. These approaches is because they're so good with being in tune with people, like how horses are. And again, all dogs to a degree are good at this in the ways that they are, but poodles have kind of like a level higher, not to be, talking down on other dogs, but truly they do in the ways that they do, right? With these type of like in tune, emotional and psychological, even, connections with their owners. And so we can do a lot of things like that with people with we could even substitute the word special with just specific needs, right? Special needs, specific needs, um, individualistic ways of approaching things. And then we can give a lot of information on that as well, just outside of events that we would call poodle parades. But, that's what I mean, is we do so much more than just these specific poodle parade events. This is just a way that we can get people to actually be personally involved with what we do, right? And this is just part of what we do. So it's just to be clear, on really our approach to this and how it will always look, at least generally, like this, and I'm not trying to speak for the future as if I know exactly how it will be, because, well, the future doesn't exist. But as of now, I know these things. Okay, check that out. Because yeah, meaning at least certainly these things, but then exactly how it's structured, that's what time will tell. So there you go. I mean, that's a lot of it, man. A lot of this, a lot of what we are, and yeah, that's a lot of what we are. These dogs, there's so much more. Again, in the ways that most all people would talk about their dogs, there's so much more than just a pet. They are even more than a family member. They can be like, our nurse, our bedside assistant, you know what I mean? Our therapist in ways, our, emergency support. But then, yes, again, poodles specifically, um, they're just so good at this. I mean, that's a lot of what they have been bred to do, is, be in the roles of like a service dog. And so, yeah, yep. All right. So just know, I mean, just know. And now you do, and you will deeper and deeper if you choose to listen to the information we give, the reasons why we're actually doing this. It's a lot of these, so yeah. And then being at Poodle Parade events, a lot of other things that you can learn there to take into your daily life are just, how to walk your dog. And I mentioned it, but just I think, seeing that as it is, I mean, that's huge. Learning how to not get as fatigued as maybe you have been getting on walks with your dogs, or your own, or your one dog, maybe you only have one, but yeah, come to Poodle Parade events, and you'll learn information from just other people who have come and know the information from us, but then from the team or from me personally, depending, right? um and you'll just learn insights that you can then take into the rest of your life. That's the cool thing about involving yourself, is yeah, you can learn all that we show under just what we do with the gift of video. We just put out so many public free videos with free information when it comes to letting dogs stay natural, and just all that we do like that. But gosh, man, I mean, just, because actually being there in person, I mean, that's kind of something that you don't get a lot of the time with things that you can just watch on the internet. Yeah, and you can learn differently, and, better usually out of actually personal experience. And so, I mean, it'll be really really great just to be able to have a place where we can share information with people face to face. I mean, that's what I mean is, as I say, we're not distant, as in the Image Clothing Company. We're here to actually really be connected. And there are things in life where, even if, you have a community or a company that's doing a lot of beautiful things to connect people, maybe they don't have ways where you can actually personally come. And don't feel like you have to do all you can to come personally to a Poodle Parade event, or else you're not doing all that you can to learn all the information that we give. Like, nothing like that, but just to have that availability for those that do want to come. Whoever does, if you don't want to, cool. You don't, I mean, that's on you. When I say on you, I mean, that's your choice. That's up to you. You don't have to at all. By no means. You don't have to try to ever get to a Poodle Parade event, but I just know that some people will love to come, certainly. Um, Especially people who love poodles, man. Um, yeah. I mean, because people who really love something, they really want to involve themselves in it. And that's me. I mean, like I said, that's the reason I'm the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, is because I love what this all is. My whole heart's in this. And so other people who love poodles so much, you might really not have many other opportunities in life to just be around that many poodles and poodle mixes. I mean, it's just going to be cool. It's like fun, man. I mean, Poodle Parade events will always be something that you might not otherwise ever get to experience quite to that degree. Maybe you go to the dog park, you see a poodle or you see a poodle mix, but you come to a Poodle Parade event, those are the only dogs that will be there, right? Those are the only dogs that are allowed, is poodle type dogs, purebred or mixed poodles. Um, and so it'll be really cool. I mean, yeah, in a lot of ways, right? So anyway, it'll be awesome, dude. Expect it. I mean, I'm not making some claims like it's never gonna happen. I'm not trying to like make it seem bigger than it will be either. I mean, it's just, I mean, just expect it. That's what I'm doing. Is just giving context, and that's, you can tell by the way I'm talking. I'm not trying to just like talk something up as if like, I'm trying to hype it up bigger than it'll be. No, it'll just be cool, but it'll be big, and bigger than I even know as of now. And so I'm making sure to say at least quite a bit, while I'm talking about it. That's what I'm doing. So yeah, man. I mean, there you go. All right, Poodle Parade events. Yeah, I love hiking, man. I love it so much. I mean, there's beautiful waterfalls here in Utah. There's rivers. I mean, that's what makes a canyon, is the rivers flowing through the mountains, and it just wears down into this big groove that's a canyon. Then you can pave a road there and go up. I mean, there's just so many beautiful locations. The photography, I think, is going to be one of the big things. People love dog photography. I mean, people just scroll through the internet looking up dog photographs because they're cool. Man, I mean, right. This is what I mean is so much cool stuff. And then we just have picnics, have fun up there. I say up there. So many will be in the mountains. Just meaning rather than just out in the middle of the desert somewhere or at a park. Um, in the mountains, man. I mean, it'll just be awesome. What we're able to do through this, who we're able to involve, and just experiences that we're able to give people, man. I mean, it'll be great. And so yeah, I mean, we can just hang out and eat. We can get wet in the water. We can, um, yeah, just see so much beautiful nature, wildlife. Again, you got to bring leashes. You have to, because if your dog starts to chase off some animal and then the dog gets hurt, or the dog hurts an animal that just didn't need to get hurt, or the dogs need to be kind of like pulled away from a snake. You see what I mean? Like we've got to have some really strict parameters in place where we do, a lot of the things that I've mentioned in here that we're really strict on because yeah, I mean, we can get into some pretty hairy situations, some pretty potentially dangerous situations for sure, or like cliff edges. I mean it. I just want to be really clear. I know a lot of people really haven't been in the mountains very often, and here in Utah, I mean, yeah, you've got a very very big multi-100-foot drop off cliff. If your dog's not on a leash, um, you know potentially very dangerous. But yeah, I mean, bring your kids, bring your whole family, bring everybody you want, and as many dogs as you want, as long as you can restrain them properly. It'll be fun. It'll be a good time. Kids will love it too, man. I mean, shoot, it'll be so cool. Bring the whole family if you want. Is what I'm saying. Like, just everyone's allowed, man. Everyone's allowed as long as we can, be kind to each other pretty well. We're human beings. We lose our tempers where we do, and I'm someone who does for sure. But right, I mean, yeah, just we're gonna have a good time with this, man. Yeah, I love hiking. I love nature. I love it. And that's the thing is I almost need help getting into nature. Even though I love it so much, often we find excuses to not do things that we know we would love in life. Just kind of like a self punishment thing. I mean, our own worst enemy, an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. And so I kind of need help to get into nature, even though where I do, I just have access to anyway, right? It's like, that's what the poodles will do for me, and in a lot of ways. But then yeah, I mean, it's just having these as full events as well, people who come, and me scheduling this, and the team of ours always just being great people. They'll help me with stuff as well. Like I'm saying, I need help to get into nature, even though I love it. And then while we're there, we'll help others too. So I mean, it'll just be so cool. My heart, man, my heart is in this. All right, cool. The hikes are amazing, man. I mean, Utah, Utah's beauty is it's crazy. Poodle parade events in Utah's beauty is a video I made on In the Image Clothing Company Poodles. But I mean, there's just meadows. I mentioned, wildflowers. There's aspen trees and pine trees, and I mean, man, there's so much different diversity here. You can check out that episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Utah, because I went into it, in pretty good depth there. A lot of just the wildlife and nature and landscape here. Um, but man, you know, yeah. We'll get into what we get into, and we'll just talk about it when it comes up, right? So just know, I'm not saying that we only do what I'm saying in this. I'm just making sure to give quite a bit of context of at least baseline what's to come. All right, yeah, because then people who would want to work with us, or who we want to work with as well, they can look back at something like this, meaning this specific episode 170 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled An Intro to Poodle Parade Events, and then they'll know, like, oh yeah, that's why we'd work with this company, In the Image Clothing Company. It's like, yeah, I mean, because Because we'll work with cool people, man. You'll see. You'll see. You'll see as time progresses. All of a sudden, I'm singing a song. So there you go, bro. There you go. Cool stuff. Oh, I'll say this, though. I mean, poodles and poodle mixes, they've got hair. All right. That's that poodle in them. You have to shave them. You have to cut their hair. When we are in nature, it will be probably the most ideal to have your dogs cut pretty short to come on these adventures, poodle parade events. You've got these little things called foxtails, you know. I think that's more of like a slang term for them. But these little seeds of plants that really just get lodged in the dog's fur, in our socks, you know, in the dog's ears maybe, if right they just can. Little like burrs, little grippy parts of plants, ticks, which are little, you know, insects that suck blood from animals, human beings too, you know. I mean, yeah, we got to watch out for these things. It probably will be the most beneficial, you know, in most cases when you come to poodle parade events, because that's our whole goal is getting into nature. To cut your dog's hair pretty short before the event. I'm not trying to tell you how to cut your dog's hair. And, you know, you probably, depending on who you are, is what I mean. I know a lot of people do just know a lot about this already. Just, you know, those that don't, though, it's not like just walking your dog down the public city street when you're in nature. Okay, I know some people literally have never had their dog on the end of a leash or, you know, out walking off leash in nature. Some people literally have never even stepped foot in nature. And to some of us, that's like, nah, you know, like almost hard to believe. But again, that's a big reason for these events is showing people what life's really like outside of the city, man. Get to the things that actually are eternal, God's natural earth. You know, the cities and the man-made things are just placed onto God's natural earth. It's always still there underneath. So we just uncover truth under the Image Clothing Company. You know, we uncover nature. And so that's a thing, you know, just the longer the hair of the dog, the easier these little blood-sucking insects, you know, they just live on the blood of animals, can get burrowed and buried underneath the hair, and things can get stuck in your dog's hair that maybe you just wouldn't know about for, you know, days, weeks, months after, and then that's not ideal, right? So I think that is a really good thing to mention, man. Well, not only I think that's a great thing to mention. I haven't mentioned that up until now, up until saying it this time. I mean, yeah, you know, short haircuts are probably going to be pretty ideal for nature environments when it comes to poodles because they do grow hair and so they could potentially be quite long. You know, you've got poodles with multiple inch long hair sometimes, and yeah, also the heat in Utah. You know, I'm just giving a lot of context. This is really great. This is awesome, man. Shoot, yeah. So there you go. Closed-toed shoes. I mean, this is the thing is just make sure you're safe as well. You know, wear some shoes. I mean, we talk about what's, you know, all the parameters of what's required in shoes to not alter the body. It's why I love the brand Zero so much, Xero. But similar things like that, you know, just don't alter your feet with footwear to try to protect them. Like go in the opposite direction of allowing the body to work by trying to protect it too much. But you know, just know, I mean, we're gonna be in some pretty rugged terrain at times. So the health of the dogs, the feet, hydration especially is a big thing in Utah. You know, it's just, you know, it is what it is, man. The weather and the dryness. So poodle parade events, man, it'll be great. It'll be really great. Yeah, just come prepared. You know, don't like sweat it and don't overly prepare, but just, you know, come prepared because we might be, you know, maybe hours away and, you know, definitely miles and miles away at times from, you know, civilization with some of these events. So just make sure that you're prepared as well as you can. And then again, you know, if you do bring stuff that you could maybe, you know, lend out, meaning like donate in a sense to other people if you needed, you know, medical type stuff, first aid type stuff, you see what I mean? So yeah, just we'll take care of each other out there for real. I mean, I know that it sounds like we're going into some like really deep waters, if you will, but kind of at times, and then we've got not only ourselves to take care of, but the dogs as well. And so I want to almost like overly prepare in my explanation of what to expect rather than just like say, hey, just come, it'll be fine. And all of a sudden, like, we're scrambling to try to have enough hydration. Like, that's a big one, or like we need a snake bite kit because a dog actually gets, you know, I mean, just anything could happen is the thing. And so it's a lot of times it is better to prepare for the worst and expect the best, right? You see what I mean? I mean, when you're literally in the wilderness, truly, I mean, yeah, right. So because you'll see, I mean, it'll just be cool, man. It'll be cool. It'll be cool. There's just so many locations. I mean, there's so many parts of Utah that I haven't even experienced. I mean, definitely so many parts of this state. There's a lot to this place, man. So much. And so, you know, so I can't even really necessarily tell people exactly what to expect at times unless I've been to the location beforehand. And in a lot of cases, and probably most of them, I will at least to check it out, kind of plans and things. But anyway, you know what I mean. It'll be sweet, man. Just remember, these are just one of the things we do with Poodles is just events like this that we can involve just about anybody who could come to with, right? It's just one of the things. But I love it, and I advertise, just meaning speak on Poodle Parade events so much. At least up until now, I have more so than a lot of the other things that we do under what we do with poodles, because of that reason that these are the things you'll be able to involve yourself with. All the other things we do, it'll probably mostly just be you watching videos of us doing it, if you're involving yourself with it. That'll be more of what it is. Or if you just are purchasing our dog products, then there you go. You're not really actually personally here. And so that's why I have been advertising Poodle Parade events so much, even though they're just only part of what we do, is because the other things that we do, I don't really need to advertise for because they're just there. You just go to InTheImageClothingCompany.com, you purchase products, or you see where our videos are placed under In The Image Clothing Company Poodles, and you just can watch our videos. But the events, you'd have to know about them to be able to come to them, right? So there you go. I'm gonna wrap it up there, brother. Thank you. Today's the date that I said. I've said it multiple times, but I'll say it one more time. The 17th of October, 2025. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. I'm in this for life. I'll say it just because it's kind of become this like catchphrase thing, and I'll stop saying it the day that I get Nita. Stick around for the poodles. All right? And now you know a lot more context than maybe you previously did. I've said things in this that I just have not documented yet up until today's date about a lot of what to expect under, in this specifically, just, one of the things we do, Poodle Parade events under In The Image Clothing Company Poodles. So thank you.